Lección de gramática 1.5 Adjetivos posesivos. Grammar Lesson 1.5 Possessive Adjectives. The first question I want to ask you is, what are possessive adjectives? If you think about it in English, it's something that you probably use on a daily basis, but maybe you didn't know this is what they were called. Well, here's the definition. You don't have to write this down in your notes, but possessive adjectives, like descriptive adjectives, are words that are used to describe or qualify nouns. Specifically, possessive adjectives express the quality of ownership or possession. Now, to put that in really basic terms and simple terms that you can write down in your notes, possessive adjectives express whose noun it is. That's probably the easiest way to word that. There's a couple of rules for possessive adjectives we're going to go over, and you will want to include these in your grammar notes. Number one, like characteristic adjectives, now those are the adjectives we've been working on, like the colors. We've used words like beautiful, elegant, tall, short. So like those characteristic adjectives, possessive adjectives must match the noun they modify in number and gender. You know now that when I say number, I mean that if the noun is singular, the adjective must also be singular. If the noun is plural, the adjective must be plural. And with gender, you have to consider whether the noun is masculine or feminine, and then make your adjective match accordingly. The second rule is that unlike characteristic adjectives, possessive adjectives are placed before the nouns they modify. You're used to putting the adjective after. These particular types of adjectives are going to go before. Go ahead and draw a 3-column chart like the one that you see here, and you can pause the video if you need to while you do that. Now that you have your 3-column chart drawn, we're going to go ahead and fill it in. So the first possessive adjective should look familiar to you, as you've seen it in a few of your worksheets already. The English word my can be expressed by using either me or mis, depending on if the noun is singular or plural. So if I wanted to say my book, for example, I would say mi libro. My books, plural, would be mis libros. If the noun belongs to you, so this would be the singular familiar you, the word we would use for your would be tu if it's singular, or tus if it's plural. Note that there is no accent over the you when we're using the word to for your, whereas there is an accent over the you when to means you. If the noun belongs to him, her, or you as in usted, so it is his book, her book, or your book, singular, we would use su libro, and if it's plural, sus libros. You'll notice the next couple of boxes are a little bit bigger, and that's because when something belongs to us, we're going to have to specify whether we are masculine or not whether we are masculine or feminine, but whether the item or the noun is masculine or feminine. So if it is our book or our table, our mother, something singular, we will use either nuestro or nuestra, depending on if the noun is singular, depending on whether the noun is masculine or feminine. And if we're talking about our books, our mothers, our friends, something plural, then we'll use nuestros or nuestras. When you're talking to vosotros, which remember is kind of like the y'all of Spanish, again, it is going to make a little bit of a difference if the noun is masculine or feminine. Similar to the words we used for our, the words for your when talking to vosotros would be vuestro, vuestra, or if the noun is plural, vuestros, vuestras. Our last box, if something belongs to them or ustedes, we would say su or sus if it's plural. Now you'll notice that the word su appears twice in the singular column and sus appears twice in the plural column. This means that if I say, for example, su abuelo. I could be saying his grandfather, her grandfather, your grandfather, as in if I'm talking to usted. I could be saying their grandfather or your grandfather as if I'm talking to ustedes. So because this can be a little bit tricky, this is why you learned, when you were learning about the verb ser, you learned how to specify using the word de. So if I said el abuelo de Rafael, then we would know specifically it is Rafael's grandfather. And so when we learned that kind of formula where you use de plus the person's name or title, that's how we can show possession also. And that can be a good way to clarify. We're going to do a little bit of practice. I'd like you to try these in your notes page. Try writing these sentences, the English with what you think the Spanish version would be. Number 1, it is my book. Number 2, it is your table, when the you that I'm talking to is tu, the singular familiar form. Number 3, it is her book. Number 4, they are our books. Number 5, they are your tables, and do this as if you're talking to ustedes. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to try those 5 sentences in Spanish. Let's look at the answers and see how you did. Número 1, es mi libro. For número 2, you should have es tu mesa. Número 3, es su libro. Número 4, son nuestros libros. Número 5, son sus mesas. You'll notice when we do the Spanish translation of the sentences, we don't have a specific word for it or they. Technically, like for number 4, they are our books, you could say ellos son nuestros libros, but more often than not, when you're talking about these types of nouns and you're already saying our books, then the subject pronoun isn't so necessary because the pronoun is meant to replace the noun and there's not as much of a need to use them together. So most people will leave those off and just say es mi libro, son mis libros, etc. Do you have any questions? If so, write them at the bottom of your notes page or come visit me and we can discuss them.